Ah! That gives you a clue as to what we're talking about today. I'm very excited. Yes.
Me too.
Was that a good clue? I mean, was it a better clue than whoever we have below us? Or was it a better clue than the title of the actual show? I think it was.
Yes.
I think it was. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. I'm putting out a live now post because it's live and there are
And
no
now.
illusions as to what we do here.
Yes.
I also have a drink that comes out of California because I felt like that was the most appropriate for this movie, considering.
Woodsboro is in California. Yeah.
Exactly. Janine, how are you? I can only imagine very excitable.
I am wonderful. And yes, very excited.
What the hell has he put as his name? Just like they used for pig blood in Carrie. How are you, pig blood in Carrie?
Got pasta sauce on my shirt, okay?
I think that kills the illusion just a little bit.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh, dear. How are we in the chat? I can see Billy in the chat talking out already, saying things. Pour one out for Dewey, or we'll be getting into that. Hello in Morgan's voice. Well, yes, hello.
I finally got him.
Voice.
What? That's terrible. If you want to see me cry on the stream, keep
coming for Gail
like
next. And Sydney's kids.
Ghostface, stop being horrible. There's no need. You're much more funny than that. There's no need to just be purposely nasty. Because Ghostface is, of course, he's unique. I say he. They are unique, the Ghostfaces, in the sense of fairly iconic horror villains. As not only is there obviously not just one Ghostface, but several. But they also like falling over a lot and making a fool of themselves.
Yeah, you're pretty fumbly and bumbly down there, Ghostface.
Ghostface, stop flailing around on the
okay?
Ghostface, stop flailing around on the floor all the time and falling over kitchen units and tables and couches and things like that. And then
stop speaking like you live in Downton Abbey.
Are you wearing a voice modulator, or are you just going to get a sore throat by the end of this, by the way?
Okay, I'm done committing to this bit.
Good. Good.
I was wondering how long that was going to be.
I swear, this isn't actually a thing I prepared for. I was having dinner before we got live, and I spilt pasta sauce on my shirt, and it kind of looks like Billy Loomis at the end of the first Scream.
So it's fitting. You planned that.
And I'll be Stu, because I'm wearing a turtleneck.
Are you going to get a television set dropped on your head?
Hopefully not.
And I'll be no one, because there are no black people in these movies.
Jada Pinkett Smith in Scream 2?
And they're all dead, so...
They are
Billy and Stu are also dead?
That's not actually true.
That's true. That's true.
Billy, everybody's dead. Anyway, we are, of course, talking about the new Scream movie on today's fun live stream, because the new Scream movie came out, and we all like Scream. None more so than I think Janine, and I think that would be fair to say, Nolan. I think Janine is the queen of Scream around here, as much as we both may enjoy these movies ourselves.
Should we explore that with a little movie trivia?
No.
If you would like to.
What is the name of the principal in the first Scream movie?
Principal Hembry.
See, you're not
good for the warm-up question.
There's actually a bust of him in Scream 4, you can see.
fuck.
Is there?
Yes, there's a tribute bust of him in Scream 4.
Janine, aren't you the resident Scream trivia champion of
The Video Chronic
Yes.
quizzes? Yes.
Yes.
I've won all 4 film trivia competitions of it. So
Yeah, we ain't gonna beat Janine when it comes to Scream trivia or Scream love.
and
even though we both enjoy it.
Actually found some fun Easter eggs in this movie, so I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. But
Are you going to be baking any of those Easter eggs?
I don't think you can bake Easter eggs, but
there was one Easter egg I think you could bake, and we'll get into it.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I think today I'm going to be the one. I'll be sitting back.
Wow, Billy, that's a bold statement right there. Jill as the best Ghostface.
I mean, she's the one I was most scared of. Not gonna lie.
Why? Because she's so disarming.
No, because I feel she's legitimately evil out of all of them. The rest of them are just like a little bit crazy. Jill's legitimately evil.
She's sane and just evil. Billy, are you gonna bleach your hair and be Wes for Halloween this year?
He does kind of look like Dylan Minnette, doesn't
he?
Why does that work so much?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I love that. I'll be discount Joshua Jackson if you be Wes from this movie. I am calling him discount Joshua Jackson as well, by the way.
I mean, he is from an acting legacy, so I think
I don't care if he's from an acting legacy. I don't care if he's Wade's kid. He looks like Joshua Jackson, but he isn't Joshua Jackson, so therefore he's discount Joshua Jackson. I will refer to him as discount Joshua Jackson for the entire show.
Well, I appreciate that, as you know how much I love Joshua Jackson. Should I put my Joshua Jackson figure down here as he was in a Scream movie?
Yes.
And
which Scream movie is he in?
Scream 2. He's the one who actually says the aliens line correctly, and Randy corrects him, but he doesn't correct him because Randy is actually wrong.
Mm-hmm. If we're going to talk best ghost faces, I feel we should talk about worst ghost faces as well quickly. Charlie from Scream 4 is the one that I am least intimidated by.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Culkin brother.
I'm also not a huge fan of Roman, as he kind of negates the awesomeness of Billy and Stu's, motive, He kind of takes away.
Yeah, but he at least has something going for him as opposed to Charlie, who's just a little bitch boy.
Like, we're supposed to get this, but Roman is a kind of a bitch boy too. Like, did you hear all his whining by the end of it?
Roman's a bitch boy with a plan. Charlie is a bitch boy who wants to get laid and get stabbed.
He's a bitch boy and a simp. So, yeah.
Yeah. We lost Morgan. Okay, we can just talk some Scream stuff until he comes back.
Yes. But yeah, my ranking would probably be Charlie, Roman, Mickey, Mrs. Loomis, Jill, and then I can't separate Stu and Billy. I always keep them together.
I mean, Stu edges it out for me just for Matthew Lillard's performance.
I always keep them together, always.
In your fan fictions, in life,
in all things, in all things.
Have you ever seen the Stab fan films that have been made on YouTube?
I have not.
A bunch of fans made the Stab movies and uploaded them like a couple years ago.
Seriously?
They're pretty fun.
I'll have to check them out. I'm glad we actually got a glimpse of the Stab cast list. So I think we saw Vince Vaughn actually played Stu in the Stab movies. And
Vince Vaughn played Stu.
And Alicia Silverstone played Tatum.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I
guess Vince Vaughn coming right off the Psycho remake would have needed to redeem himself within the Stab movie.
Yeah. So I think I would have liked that. I would have liked to see like their clips. I'm sad we never got a David Schwimmer as Dewey clip from the Stab movies.
Nah, I reckon everyone in Friends just is going to avoid the Scream movies because it's like I reckon people know Courtney Cox more for Scream than they do for Friends now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It depends on, I think, what generation you're from.
I feel like Morgan, I thought you were going to come back wearing a Ghostface costume.
I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
I'm back.
Sad. I'm very sad.
Because you I only have the mask. You have the full-on outfit.
Yeah.
I do, but it's locked away out of reach.
But like you knew this was happening. Like you could have kept it
Don't judge me.
out.
Morgan
Don't-
actually was Ghostface when he went on a killing spree in his teens.
That's where he went right now.
Yes, obvious. Never trust the person who leaves temporarily. That was
Instead of-
all a ploy.
Someone on this screen is the killer.
Instead of horror movie trivia, Morgan just quizzes them about classic movies and just groans at them instead of killing them.
Exactly. Or just classic horror trivia.
What do you mean you've never seen an Audrey Hepburn movie?
Sounds like me. It
Yeah.
does sound like me. It does sound like me. I like it. I was talking about Discount Joshua Jackson. I don't know what the conversation moved on to. I presume we've actually started talking about the movie.
We were discussing favorite ghost faces.
Yes.
Oh well, look, it's yes, I like Billy and Stu. Obviously, I mean you ain't getting better.
Yes.
Jill
don't
comes
get
very close.
Yeah, I put her in my next spot.
I mean, sure, but Scream, sure. But Scream, the first Scream, is on a completely different level to the rest of the movies. Even this movie, which was very good, it's on a completely different level in every sense.
Overall, did we like this movie?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I absolutely.
I've never disliked a Scream movie.
No.
Not even Scream 3, the notoriously bad Scream.
Yeah.
Scream 3 is still fun to watch,
Yeah.
even if it's the weakest out of all of them.
And you love these characters, so you're gonna kind of follow them into the fire, as it were. And it's a testament to, what they've been able to build with
I even watched
connection.
that shitty Scream TV show.
I didn't watch the show.
I'm surprised you haven't actually watched that show, Janine, actually, given that you are Scream's #1 fan.
Because I like the legacy characters, and that show is just like its own thing that has nothing to do with the movies. If it had even a slight relation to the movies, then I might be interested. But
why is it a thing then?
In season 3, I think that they brought back the original Ghostface voice and costume, but it was still all different characters.
Yeah. It's not connected really to the movies. That's why I never watched it.
And I'll tell you why, because they thought that nobody was interested in another Scream movie back in the mid-2010s, because Scream 4 didn't do that well at the box office. So Harvey Weinstein, I believe, was quoted as saying, you put it on MTV because that's where the teenagers are nowadays.
Okay.
In the mid-2010s, you're telling me he thought that the teenagers were on MTV?
Yeah, because, I mean, think about it. The horror in the 2010s, it was, for the first couple years, it was sort of didn't know where it was, and then it took off like a sort of midway. Like, I think the release of The Witch kind of brought it back into the mainstream. Then you got things like Get Out and Hereditary and all the... Okay, first
elevated
of all,
horror.
Can we talk about how bullshit of a term elevated horror is? I hate that term so much.
So do I.
Horror is horror.
I actually think this moves us quite nicely into our first actual topic of the show today in talking about Scream, which is the cold open, where the term elevated horror is used. And, one of our lead characters, Tara, happens to like elevated horror. I just call it good horror.
And she
Horror's
lists
just good
off
no
a
matter
bunch
what.
of she lists off a bunch of Morgan movies when she's arguing with the killer on the phone.
I do remember Morgan has a specific hatred for one thing in the Babadook.
Yes, I hate the Babadook. I don't. The Babadook's a good movie, but obviously the kid in the Babadook is the worst person in the entire world ever, and I hate him deeply, so I can never watch the movie. However, I think this movie actually took a ridiculous kind of dig at movies of those kind, and I appreciated it. But it definitely made fun of people that are up themselves when it comes to only liking those horror movies.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that because, as many of you might say, Billy in the chat saying that, the very Morgan movies, you guys saying that they are very Morgan movies, The Witch, etc., obviously are movies I enjoy. However, I also like stupid movies as well. Not like Tara from Scream, who only likes those movies and hates Stab. And
Yeah, you do like the
such
fun, silly
slashers.
horror films and slashers as well. So you were not in an elevated horror box.
I've still got to get you to watch Child's Play.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't like the idea of it. I know that it's a big thing, and I know that we know people who love Child's Play.
So you've never seen any of the movies?
No, and I don't care to.
Okay, well now that thank you,
This
Nolan.
isn't a
This is
conversation about
information I
Child's Play.
need for future episodes of Morgan hasn't seen. So you just
you see what I did
you
there,
know,
buddy.
This isn't
Thank
a
you.
conversation about Child's Play. We're
I'm
supposed
gonna
to be
call you a
talking.
farmer because you like to be planting those seeds. Oh yeah.
That phrase could have gone any quicker. We're supposed to be talking about the cold open of Scream 2022, not me and Child's Play.
I do like that it's different from every other Scream cold open in that the girl doesn't die.
No, she survives. It's an attack. It's part of a further plan.
Which is good because I like Jenna Ortega as an actress. She's very likable.
Yeah.
She's in a lot of things now. She's becoming like the new kind of horror girl. She'd be in the Wednesday Addams Netflix thing. She's in a couple of horror movies this year, including this one.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for X, like that X-rated, like porn themed horror film, and then I saw a really interesting trailer for a Foo Fighters horror movie called Studio 666, which she's
that
in.
Looks awesome.
So I'm like stoked for that because I love the Foo Fighters. So, yeah, she's doing a lot of horror stuff, which is really cool.
Apologies.
And first of all, I'm jealous of all the kid actors in this. Can we call them teen actors in this movie because they likely are so happy they get to be part of one of their favorite franchises.
Yeah, I think they're probably all early 20s, so passable for like 18-year-old high school kids. Yeah, I really liked them. So I'm glad that she survived. And I'm glad like it made sense to the plot. Like we just didn't have her survive because we like her. We had her survive for a specific reason. And also the fact that we weren't losing a cool character. So and it made it stand out as something different from the other movies. So I liked keeping her around. And I like by the end, she's like, can you please just take me to a different hospital?
Morgan keeps getting his line cut off by Ghostface, who is cutting the internet
I'm
lines.
just having bad audio issues. Sorry. I should be fine now.
Yes, it made me very happy, Billy. The Dead Meat cameo.
Yes.
When I saw James and Chelsea, I got so excited.
They'd have loved that as well. I like Dead Meat.
I can't wait for the Dead Meat episode of this movie.
I know. I'm like sad. Like James is taking a break and he's not doing kill counts until the summer, so we won't get a kill count on this for a while. But yeah, that was really fun.
At any point, though, since Tara survived the cold open, did that at any point make you think that she was one of the ghost faces?
No. I felt like she was always kind of just like a bait type situation. Especially kind of learning more about her character and her sister. We are getting to an Easter egg section, Billy, so calm down. Calm down. We will get there. um, so yeah, I never really thought, even when discount Joshua Jackson was trying to kind of convince us that she could potentially be one, I never really got there with that whole idea.
You know how I watch movies. I don't try and figure anything out until I'm told it. So I don't think like that. Even in Scream movies, where that promotes thinking like that and
Yeah.
trying to figure out who's doing what and how to, who's following the rules almost too well, and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I'm here for the gore. I'm here for the fun. I'm here for the jokes they're making about other movies and their own movies. I'm here for Ghostface.
I also liked kind of the technology play into it, like with the electronic locks, and also the fact that like she was able to like Google the answers on the phone. Like, no, like poor Casey Becker wasn't able to do that in 1996.
You can't do that on Schmodown either, can you?
No.
So that's why I give more credit to Casey Becker and to Schmodown competitors.
Yeah.
Because
So
at
when
least
you were
Casey Becker did the trivia honorably.
Yeah.
Tara's not even honorable with the cheating.
No, she was cheating.
Cheating.
But I when you disappeared to do your creepy ghost face kills, we were talking about the fact that in that scene we do get a little glimpse of the Stab cast list. And I think I saw Vince Vaughn played Stu in the Stab movies, and Alicia Silverstone actually played Tatum in the Scream movies. So
coming off of Batman and Robin and the Psycho remake,
to be in Stab.
I love the idea of Stab, though.
Yeah.
There's obviously Scream as a franchise is notoriously meta. It makes fun of itself as well as everything else.
Yeah.
I think there was one point later on in this movie, there was one kill in this movie that took it to an entirely new level for me. And I just had to applaud it whilst also kind of shaking my head going, what level are we at now when with these in-joke references that we're just becoming silly? But then again, that's what Scream's always been good at.
It's been about, yeah. So in terms of like, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry, being a legitimately great horror movie whilst also being an absolute parody of everything.
Yeah, and kind of a commentary on what is actually happening with what phase these movies are in, and kind of what's happening in horror and in cinema in general. So like in the sequel, there was kind of all these references to just sequels in general and horror sequels and what makes a sequel good. And the third one, obviously there was a whole conversation about trilogies and things like that. So yeah, there's always kind of a commentary on what's going on in film in reference to the film that you're actually in. So this one definitely, because it's a requel, there was a lot of requel conversation as well, and conversations in this opening scene about different types of horror and kind of how horror has changed and evolved since the first Scream. So yeah, I liked the whole kind of Ghostface conversation and kind of her bringing up movies that she liked, and didn't like the term elevated horror either. But it made for a very kind of interesting dynamic that's also very familiar, the whole game aspect, but the fact that she was kind of looking things up, and her aversion to the Stab films. And in terms of like scariness, I mean, obviously these movies never really scare me. They're always just kind of more fun, but kind of in comparing it to other cold opens, how did you guys feel about this in terms of kind of the scariness of it and the kind of set piece of it?
The only bad cold open from a Scream movie I feel is the third one. Like on some level, they're all pretty good cold opens. So if we were to rank them by just how strong they are, I mean, obviously the first one's got to be up there.
Yeah.
And I'm torn between 4 and 2 as second place. I feel like they're both equally epic. And this one, whilst it is like good, it does feel like they're trying to remind you of the Casey Becker
Yeah.
open, but just do it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
That's this whole movie. They obviously continually make the joke about this throughout the entire movie in these requel situations. I call them legacy sequels. There's even a conversation in this movie that the name of these type of sequels isn't really solid. So I call them legacy sequels. You can call them requels. You can call them whatever you want. We all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it feeling like the Casey... I feel like it feeling like the Casey Becker cold open from the first Scream is to its credit, because that's exactly what it wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because of the joke, as well as it being genuinely good. And in context of the movie itself, it was a really, really quite intense cold open. I liked how this movie did feel quite nasty and brutal all the way throughout, really. It was really quite gory. Not that Scream movies aren't gory, but I felt this one really made a point of wanting to be. And I appreciated that about it. Because look, obviously, it's a slasher movie. It's going to, it's not for children. It's going to be appropriately bloody and violent.
It's not for 12-year-olds at a sleepover like Clara was when she watched Stab.
Well, unless you're obviously particularly...
Well, yeah, I think I saw it at 13 at a sleepover, the first one, the first time, which probably has like the goriest kill of all of the movies.
I saw it at age 12 on a computer by myself because I wasn't invited to any sleepovers.
I don't remember actually when I saw Scream for the first time, but I know that when I first got into horror, I would because I couldn't find the movies. I couldn't buy the movies. My parents didn't own the movies. Is there an echo?
Oh, yes.
What was I saying?
30-second delay.
I've forgotten what I was saying. When I first was getting into horror, because I couldn't buy the movies, I couldn't find the movies, I couldn't, my parents didn't own the movies. All I could do was YouTube certain things about horror movies and see what would come up, and the Scream opening would always come up. So I remember continuously watching the Scream opening over and over and over and over and over again years before I would ever eventually watch the film. So that always has held a special place, to be fair, in my horror movie watching, more so, to be honest, than the opening of Halloween, more so than the opening of Nightmare on Elm Street. Two franchises I also very much love in terms of slasher franchises. But that original Scream Casey Becker cold open has always been very close to my horror heart, which is why I loved that this one felt very much like that. I really did. I did. I don't know where Janine has gone. We seem to be having various issues today. I'm sorry about all this. But
Janina's just gone to commit her own Ghostface killings.
Perhaps. Janine...
That was perfect that you came back in with that face.
I feel like...
Bye, Billy. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. I feel like we should potentially... We seem to have been delayed in this first half an hour
30-second delay.
Yes.
For whatever silly reasons. I don't know if we wanted to move on with our discussion. I'm a little bit thrown off of the format, to be perfectly honest with everybody. So what do we want to do?
think we can move on to talking about the new characters.
Well, there we go. There we go. Let's go for new characters and go ahead.
I suspected Amber right from the start because she's the exact type of girl that I despise.
Why is that?
You know, the friend who is like way too into the other friend to an almost creepy degree, and it's just like almost controlling in that way. I've grown up with people around that, and I hate them. So
You hate people who are nice to you.
Yeah, but
No.
I feel like people were complaining about the fact that they were able to kind of tell who the killers were very easily as like a flaw of the movie, and I don't really see that as a flaw. But
I mean, as long as their motivation makes sense, it's fine.
yeah,
I can't come into this conversation because, like I said, I my brain just doesn't
never goes
work
that far
way.
ahead. Yeah, you're just kind of watching it as it comes and taking in information as it comes. You're not like storing it away and thinking about,
No, it really, really doesn't work that way. I cannot give. I think the idea of people saying you could tell who the killers are is a fault of the movie is silly.
Mm-hmm.
That's, this is a Scream movie. It's not supposed to be taken seriously all the time.
I
It's
think it's
supposed to
because
still remain a good horror movie, and it does. But it's not supposed to, it's half and half.
But I think because a huge kind of part of these films has always been the kind of whodunit aspect, I think people kind of put a lot of stake in that. So when, the whodunit is pretty solvable pretty early on, I get why people would see that as a flaw. But this movie and these movies have so much else to kind of be excited about and pay attention to that I don't ever see that as kind of a flaw. But yeah, Amber was just kind of very creepy at the start. And if you have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, she's like crazy. And she was doing a lot of those same crazy eyes, like Manson family crazy eyes that I was like, I don't know. She seems nuts.
Yeah, and like I know from looking at the behind the scenes of this movie that they did film multiple different endings just so the ending wouldn't leak.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm imagining what the movie would have been like if the other actors were Ghostface, and like would that make the movie any better? And truthfully, no, because the motivation of these two killers is completely different than like what the movie's kind of making you think it's setting up. You think it's going to be like a revenge story against the Carpenters, but no, it's all about this whole let's give Hollywood some new ideas for a horror film.
Because we love it so much and we get made fun of for our fandom. I really love that line. Like, how can a fandom be toxic? Like, it's about love. Like, that totally makes sense. Like,
you have killed people.
It's great.
Right?
It's great.
For your love, right? Like, just the kind of irony and like the backwards thinking of it. Like, it makes so much sense, but how he's kind of going about that is like totally insane and murderous and like not about love.
But it's exactly as we,
but it's
as
so
we know,
true.
As we know, it's exactly how these kind of people believe and think in their weird minds is that they own their own love of a particular thing and they're going to kill people if it doesn't get how they want to. And it's sad, but obviously that is exactly what's happened. Just while we're talking about the killers and the motive, as you have nicely transformed us onto there, Janine, I actually just wanted to temporarily just again say fake Joshua Jackson was actually really good in this movie. I kind of liked him, but he is fake Joshua Jackson. And I actually thought it was Joshua Jackson at the beginning of the movie before realizing that it couldn't have possibly been Joshua Jackson because Joshua Jackson is older.
He's like in his 40s, isn't he?
You really thought Jack Quaid was Joshua Jackson?
Well, for like a split second, I thought, wait a minute, is that Joshua Jackson?
Randy's random ass college classmate decided to come back and just like kill all these people that he doesn't even know.
That's for humiliating me in class, Randy.
Yeah, and I was right. I was right.
I didn't think about it
It
that
was
much.
Get away from her, you bitch.
I didn't think about it that
Yeah,
much. In
I
the
think you
sense
just
that I'd
wanted
clocked
that
on.
that was his motive. He wanted to be validated for getting that line
No.
correct.
Although they mention, this has always bugged me in Scream 2 when they're talking about great horror sequels and say there's no good sequels in horror. Hello, Evil Dead 2?
Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is good.
Nightmare on
Any-
Elm Street, Dream Warriors?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a second, that's a third movie.
It's still a sequel.
I'm trying to think of others now. We've named good ones there.
Child's Play
But
2.
I would like to point out, Janine,
Yes.
in the split second I thought it was actually Joshua Jackson, it did not clock in my brain that Joshua Jackson was in Scream 2 and would have therefore been a character in this movie that came back from Scream 2.
And it would have been extra meta as Tara is watching an episode of Dawson's Creek with Joshua Jackson.
Exactly. Which
and
I know
technically
you love.
Roman from Scream 3.
But oh my god, every time he was on screen, I have seen this. I've seen Jack Quaid in things before. I must have done.
The Boys.
Well,
I think the first main thing I saw him in, he had a very small part in the first Hunger Games.
To be honest, I thought he was Jack Whitehall for a while. He looks a bit like Jack Whitehall.
No, he doesn't. Especially when you compare to how he looks like Joshua Jackson. Every single time he was on screen, I was, how is it not Joshua Jackson?
No, I would watch The Boys and I'm constantly like, who is he reminding me of? Oh my gosh, he's so reminding me of Joshua Jackson. Like, I used to think that for the longest time. So to have somebody else think that too. Yeah.
I like how...
And the fact that we know who he actually looks like, but he still looks like Joshua Jackson is just weird.
Well, yeah, he's Dennis Quaid's son, but he looks like
and
Joshua
Meg
Jackson.
Ryan's son. Yeah,
are we sure Joshua Jackson didn't like? I mean, it's the wrong time. It's the wrong time. I suppose Joshua Jackson is too young at that point to be hooking up with
the
Meg
love child of
Ryan.
Meg Ryan. No.
But are we sure, like 12-year-old Joshua Jackson didn't just?
No, I mean Joshua Jackson was, I think, already like in his early 20s when he was playing a 15-year-old on Dawson's Creek. So
he could have been.
It's possible. Dawson's Creek started in 98 and he was like maybe 22, 23.
Is it possible?
I mean, it is.
Madness.
The motive was completely different from what I thought it was going to be.
What did you think it was going to be?
I thought because of the whole Ghostface going after people who are linked to the original killers and the whole Billy Loomis thing, that it was going to be a guilty by association kind of motive. So like maybe somebody who was related to a victim or something, and got forgotten,
and just wanted to get revenge. Yeah,
because I thought that could have been like a cool sort of meta commentary on cancel culture.
Yeah, like killing Stu's nephew, killing Billy's daughter. I think that would have made sense as like this kind of years later trauma revenge type situation.
I like that. Yeah. It could have gone that way with its commentary. But in the end, it chose to go the fandom route with its commentary, which is actually kind of funnier because it's something I think people find more humor in.
Yeah.
Then
Amber definitely looks like she writes some fanfics and gets cancelled for them on Twitter.
I appreciated when I was walking out of the cinema, there was a group of, I imagine there were about 18, 19 behind me, otherwise they wouldn't have realistically been able to get into the movie. But there was a group of about 4 of them, and 2 of them were saying that was so good. I love that movie, and 2 of them saying it was absolutely shit. They couldn't work out between the 2 of them.
Yeah, and I think that's
what they were thinking. Killing spree in Manchester with those 4 kids you just
I just think
I know who the killers are.
I just think that's 2 people there who know movies well enough to get the jokes, and 2 people who don't.
Yeah, because people are going to be like, "Oh, this motive is so dumb." Like, why would they do this? Because of a fandom. It's literally like the most meta inside kind of layered joke. Yeah.
you say that kind of annoying term, which is this movie was made for the fans. While that may be partially true, I don't necessarily want to use that term. I would rather use it was made for people that get the joke.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, and however much you may be a fan of Scream anyway, or just know what movie franchise fandom is like these days. If you know to any degree what that's like these days, you get jokes that are in here. I absolutely loved the little bit of stuff about Stab 8, which was clearly just ripping into people's discussion on The Last Jedi.
Jedi, yeah, making Ryan Johnson be the director of it as
It's
well.
great. It's great.
I'm glad Flamethrower Ghostface was in that movie because I was kind of iffy on Ghostface having a flamethrower in the actual film.
Yeah, and the fact that he like had a cut off T-shirt, like, and had a silver like metal mask.
I love,
which is funny because Knives Out, I think, is kind of similar to Scream, but for mystery movies.
Yeah, it plays into that whodunit aspect.
It does. Absolutely, it does.
I would watch a Ryan Johnson Scream movie.
I mean,
I mean, he might do one now.
You're saying things now, Nolan. You're saying things now. Motive-wise, though, aside from the joke, let's just put it in context of the movie. I do like the fact that they just wanted that they saw, the murders from 25 years ago. Are so well versed in the murders from 25 years ago that they want to essentially try and recreate them.
Yeah, like they're not even trying to take credit for this. They want to get away with it, like Billy and Stu, and put the blame on Billy's daughter because that would make for a great movie.
Exactly. I also love that finally we have another Sam Loomis, technically, in horror. Because horror can't get away from the name Sam Loomis, so why not bring a Sam Loomis into Scream? Even though she's technically Sam Carpenter, which again, Carpenter, we're just throwing them all in there.
Yeah, and we even got the girlfriend of Chad. Her last name is Mackenzie, so she's the drive down to the Mackenzie's Mackenzie.
And Wes, I finally figured out why they called him that, because it's sort of a meta thing for Wes Craven.
You just figured that out.
How did you just figure that out?
Oh, I didn't just figure that out. I'm just bringing it up.
It is, yes. It is. I did like that. I loved that, to be honest. The fact that it was clear that they just, right in the middle of the movie, the big party where Wes died, they just made a big point to toast Wes.
Yeah, and like the little banner that they made says for Wes.
Yeah. It was really nice.
We're talking about still on the killers. I really enjoyed Amber going from psycho to innocent girl next door, like on a whim.
Yeah.
They're good at that though, the killers.
Like she's walking away just for her to come back and like just act completely crazy.
They're good at play acting. Play acting is a skill of the ghost faces as well. Falling over things very dramatically and theatrically. And play acting are serious skills of all ghost faces.
Although she didn't play it very well when she came out on the porch, and Gail and Sydney had to gauge, and they were immediately like, "Nah, this is a trap."
That's because Gail and Sydney are learned professionals in such things, and they're not going to take, they know what's going on. They're smart people, obviously. But
She reminded me a lot of Stu, actually, from the original, like the sort of wackier one, as opposed to. But the weird thing is, I wouldn't say Richie is like Billy Loomis at all.
No, it's strange, really, being the fact that the movie is such a harken back to the original Scream, purposely and as a joke. But the killers themselves are just... they're recreating what the original killers did rather than trying to be them. They're not trying to be them. Their characters, out of context of the joke, aren't even like them. They're just trying to do what they did, which is fun. It's different. You can get bogged down in trying to figure out whether you want to talk about it as a serious movie or whether you just want to talk about everything as just how well it parodied everything else.
Yeah.
It can get a little bit confusing in my brain.
It was all the more worth it, though. I mean, I'm guessing this might have been one of your favorite moments of the movie when Amber is trying to beg Gail not to hurt her, and then she gets set on fire.
Yeah, I was radicalized.
Yeah. Gail doesn't take no nonsense.
No.
Gail's like, I am the original bullshitter kid.
Yes.
Fun callbacks and Easter eggs is what we are on to now. We have already talked about our favourite James and Chelsea from Dead Meat.
Yes.
Which is a great
and,
channel.
Billy was referencing Kirby Lives. If you in that same little section, if you look at the suggested videos, there's actually a video that says Woodsboro survivor Kirby Reed gives an interview. So we know that Kirby ended up surviving the events of Scream 4.
So if they make another one, they've got to bring Kirby back.
Yes, because Wes Craven originally wanted to bring her back, because had 4 been successful, they had another kind of trilogy of films planned with, Wes Craven making them. But that didn't
The thing is, I would say there's no reason why you can't just go on and make more Scream movies.
I mean, they might. If this one does well, I think they might continue. We had a solid amount of survivors, and I definitely see it. It's a possible thing to happen.
I also would like them to use Sydney more if they make another one. Like Sydney mentioned something in this. She's got a husband named Mark. Is that
it's Mark Kincaid from Scream 3. I'm presuming that it is him.
Patrick Dempsey coming back.
Yeah, I mean, he might.
That would be a great motive for another Ghostface. Have someone go after Sydney's kids.
Yeah, and then that definitely would keep her coming back.
You could almost... I mean, you've done your joke about legacy sequels now with this one. You could even do a more direct parody of 2018's Halloween, in the sense of, it's always been about you, Sydney, with the ghost face. And it's just Ghostface versus Sydney, no matter what. And Sydney turns into Laurie Strode and is all locked up and gone weird.
Or the Ghostface is Maureen Prescott, who never actually died.
You could do that, though.
I mean, yeah.
There's endless parody opportunities with Scream. And the one thing we always want with Scream, and the one thing this one did really well, is to be a good parody and be a legitimately good slasher movie. Because to be a good parody of Scream, you've just got Scary Movie, which the first Scary Movie is actually a decent parody.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
It's a terrible slasher movie, because it doesn't work as a slasher movie, because it's not trying to be a slasher movie.
Trying to make fun of every other slasher movie.
But Scream's both. So you always need Scream to be both. So you never want to go too far to the Scary Movie level. But also you don't want to go too far to the being an actual slasher level. You still want it to know what it's doing. You still want everybody to be aware of everything else.
Yeah.
It's a fine line that I always, it speaks to the intelligence of Wes and Kevin Williamson and the first Scream to be able to then carry that on now through 5 movies has been, without really a bad one. Scream 3, yes, being the lesser one, but it's still good.
Because
It's still watchable.
it wasn't written by Kevin Williamson, so I think
No.
that was kind of obvious. I think I had seen him do an interview where he talked about how he wanted Stu to be alive for him to have survived, you know, obviously with a lot of damage to his face, but he would have survived and been in prison, and he would have built up kind of this fan base of people writing to him, and, you know, it would have kind of been this cult of people, and Sydney kind of would have been introduced to this whole new cast of characters. They all would have presumably been killed off one by one. And she's kind of in a room, discovers all the bodies. And as she's standing in the room with them, they all just start to rise up, and they all faked their deaths as this big kind of plot of like Stu cultists. Like,
could you not still have that? Mind you, nobody knows they did it. Oh yeah, well yeah, they do actually. Why am I saying that? Why couldn't you still not have that? Yes, okay, you couldn't have Stu come back because he's dead, which will be a shame.
Yeah.
But you could still have, mind you, I suppose that was this movie though, wasn't it? It was people loving what Billy and Stu did and wanting to do it again. It depends where you want to go with it. I actually quite like the idea of doing a more direct parody of Halloween 2018 and just having it
Sydney
always be about Sydney.
just locking herself up in like a barricaded house and training with guns and
Yeah, just
all
being
these
serious,
things,
like,
which I really did like that line.
yeah,
Sydney Prescott, of course. I
I'm
have a
Sydney
fucking gun.
Prescott. Of course I have the gun. So I liked that.
I mean,
But
that's just a little hint for me that she, you know, it's there's a little bit of old Laurie Strode in Sydney there.
Yeah.
And
yeah, she was like, I'm coming back because I have kids now, and I'm not going to stop until, you know, he's dead in the ground. So, yeah, but there were some really kind of fun little things in there if you were looking for them, like I was. We actually see Tatum's ashes, because I think there was a lot of, we never really saw Dewey have a huge emotional reaction to losing his sister. Like, people bring it up and he just kind of gives a look and like that's it. So it was nice to see that he actually has Tatum's ashes there, like in his apartment. I appreciated that.
Speaking of ashes, we also have Judy Hicks lemon bars.
Oh yeah, she left a little note for Wes, lemon bars in the fridge. And there was actually like a little Psycho reference in there as well.
oh, the walls! I'm glad you brought that up.
When he referenced the killer references Psycho, and immediately when it cuts to Wes in the shower, the shot is the same exact shower head shot from Psycho.
There was a couple of shots after that as well that were very similar to Psycho. The kind of wider of Wes washing himself.
Yeah,
it's very, very similar. Really like that. Glad you spotted that.
Yes,
glad you spotted that because I wanted to make a point of that.
Yes,
that was probably my favorite kill, Ghostface kill in the movie. The double of Judy and Wes.
Yeah, so sad. Like in broad daylight, and that just made it even kind of scarier. And like the fact that like the stabs are just so intense. Like I think in the other ones, you don't just see the brutal, just like stab like that. I think a lot of the times they would cut away and then like add more stabs, like with sound effects off screen. But here, like you just see, you know, the stabs kind of going to town, which was another callback after Sam goes crazy on Richie. She wipes the blade just like Billy used to. So like a nod to her dad right there with that.
Although Billy wore a glove when he did that, so Sam's definitely walking around with an infected hand after that.
Big nasty cut all across the palm. That's got to hurt as well.
Hunting knives are sharp.
But I mean, if she does it from the top side, I think she's okay.
But I thought it was the blade of a knife.
I think it just looked really cool, and it was a very great callback because we see Billy's Ghostface do that all the time. Because if you've seen these movies as much as I've seen them, you notice that there's different ways that Stu does things when he's Ghostface to when Billy does things when he's Ghostface, and you can kind of tell when it's the other guy.
Did we get any licking of the fingers though, Janine?
Well, that was corn syrup. You know who else licked their fingers?
Who?
I'll save that for later.
No, you'll say what? You can't just start that now and then say.
Well, it's my fun little theory.
Oh, okay.
So I'll save that for later. But also, of course, I was very excited to see the little Dawson's Creek moment. Tara was watching Dawson's Creek in her hospital bed. And of course, it was an episode with Scott Foley. So we got a little Roman Bridger cameo. And it also it was a horror episode of Dawson's Creek. It was an episode called The Scare. So they weren't just watching any old episode. It was actually like the horror themed episode of the show.
They could put James Van Der Beek in a Scream.
I mean, he did have a fun cameo in Scary Movie.
He did.
Yeah, they started playing I Don't Want to Wait, and then he like pops in the window and he's like, oh, wrong set. Like, please.
I did also enjoy the Randy Meeks home theater.
Yes, the Memorial Home Theater. Also appreciate that Martha got her swirl on with her little biracial kids. Like, okay, Martha likes her chocolate man. Okay, appreciate that.
With that, my favorite of the new characters was Mindy Meeks.
Yes.
I'm glad she survived because I want to see more of her. That actress killed it.
I mean, her and Chad, the first POCs to survive since Joel from Scream 2, the smart cameraman who was like, I'm Black, I don't survive these situations, I'm leaving. And he left. The smartest person in all of the Scream franchise.
Well done. Well done.
Yes. So I like that both of them survived. And Chad, he was pretty funny too. I like that like he wouldn't go upstairs to hook up with his girlfriend because he's like, because I don't know if you are the killer. So I think I want to stay down here with all the people. So like smart. They were both very smart. They used their POC-ness and channeled that into their thinking. And also that whole callback of the turnaround scene with Minnie too.
Yes.
Very layered meta moment of her watching the guy playing her uncle in that scene as it's kind of happening to her.
While it wasn't the most intense kill, and it wasn't even a kill, it was an attack in the movie. It was maybe my actual favorite point of the movie because it was just layer upon layer of joke. Of sitting in the same house, watching the in-universe recreated movie of what happened in that house 25 years ago. At the same point, you're watching somebody playing your uncle, who got killed, be killed whilst you're about to be attacked. In the same location.
And even her outfit, like she's wearing the green shirt, brown pants, just like Candy, down to what she's wearing.
It's so good. It's so well done. I loved that. And I do like that they survived. I was quite surprised that so many people survived, to be perfectly honest, at the end of this movie, because you're used to these kind of things being absolute kill fests. And while there are some significant deaths that I'm sure we'll talk about very, very shortly, there was quite a surprising amount of people that survived, which is not a shame, but it's quite surprising given how genuinely, nasty and brutal a lot of the attacks felt in this movie. And, the ghost faces themselves felt particularly determined. They
because of their fandom.
Yeah, they weren't just
intense fandom.
They weren't just they brought this up as the joke in the movie, didn't they? They weren't just random killings.
Yeah.
They were killings with an actual reason behind it. So they wanted to do things in a particular way. So I do think it was a surprise, really, how many people did survive. But then again, like we said, maybe they are opening up for
more
Scream 6.
Yeah.
And whatever we may get. I hope it does do really well because I think it deserves to do really well. And just make it do really well for Wes. Do it for Wes.
Yes. So like some nice Wes. So I think Wes had to die so that party could become a tribute party for Wes. So we do see the words for Wes hanging up in the house at the party. Of course, the whole big finale happens in the kitchen. So very similar to the original. Gail actually gets shot in the same spot that she got shot in Scream 2. So like Okay.
Gale should be dead.
Yes, essentially.
You cannot kill Gale Weathers.
If you can't kill Gale Weathers, Nolan, how can you kill the other person who gets killed?
We'll get onto that. Also, something I noticed when Tara was hiding in the hospital and then Richie finds her, she throws the phone at him and he actually says, "Did you hit me with the phone?" So I'd like to think that was a little callback to Stu's like perfect ad lib of "you fucking hit me with the phone, dick."
Were you given that, again, the killers were trying to recreate things, were you maybe expecting them to, stab each other like Billy and Stu?
Well, no, because
wanted
I
to
don't
do?
think I don't know if they really wanted it to go. I think they just wanted to be able to just blame everything on Sam. So,
But
I don't know.
if they would have been the only ones to come out of that looking reasonably okay.
Well, I mean, at that point, didn't Richie already get shot in the leg?
Oh, that's true.
And
But
she,
Ghostfaces never shoot people.
And as we can see, Amber is a complete wimp when it comes to anything pain related.
I know, when she kind of felt cornered, she just kind of was like, "Oh no, don't hurt me." So
That's true. That's a good point.
Which is very ironic considering she probably gets the most brutal death out of all of them.
Kinda. Definitely.
Which another Easter egg, she got set on fire in another movie. So this would be her second time getting set on fire in film, as she was burned by a flamethrower, Ghostface's new weapon of choice in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I like it. Legacy characters is a significant part of legacy sequels. That's why I call them legacy sequels, because they are full of legacy characters. We've got the three biggies in this movie, and we appreciated that.
Did we feel a little cheated that we didn't get more of them, or were we okay with the amount of time that we had with them?
I wish we had more time with them, but I feel like the movie wouldn't work if it focused more on like Sydney, Gale, and Dewey rather than these new kids.
Yeah.
I was actually absolutely fine with the amount of time we got with them.
And I'm glad we got the most kind of time with Dewey because we obviously see where, what happened to him. So
yes.
The fact that he kind of came back and we got his little music and we got him kind of delivering lines the way he did in the first Scream.
He's so full of heart and emotion.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe you're really the killer because that cut deep.
Yeah. I love that.
It's ironic, really, that he is so full of heart. Yet I imagine his heart probably fell out of his body at one point in the movie, which is quite a nasty image.
It's terrible.
It is terrible.
Gale Weathers is the kind of person who would have Dewey's heart as like an ornament, though.
Oh, what if that happens?
Ew.
Dewey's heart's definitely on that hospital floor, by the way.
Oh, no.
If you haven't realised we're talking Scream spoilers at this point, you're an idiot. Dewey gets gutted like a fish, which I appreciated. I didn't appreciate it on the sense that it would have been rather nice for Dewey not to die.
But I mean, he already survived 2 stabbings, like the first, and he wasn't even supposed to survive past the first movie. But test screenings loved him so much that they brought him back. He was literally supposed to die. He was supposed to die at the end of the first Scream movie. So he lied. We got more movies with him than we were even supposed to get.
He's the Han Solo of this movie, essentially.
Yeah,
we should be thankful that we got more Dewey. David Arquette's great as Dewey, obviously. Dewey has his little jokes. Dewey also has what I think is the most brutal death in the whole movie, simply because it feels the most theatrical, and it's certainly
the whole lead up to it, the fact that he walks up and he's dropping the bullet shells and he's putting gearing up and that whole, and like Yeah,
It's the most
great.
emotional as well, obviously, because he's a legacy character.
Oh yeah.
And he did, I always loved the line, "I'll gut you like a fish" from the first Scream. So I just loved that he was really knife in the
In the
gutted
front
like a
and in the
fish.
back. Yeah.
I love that. I don't love it, but I love it in the sense that we love kills in slasher movies.
No, I actually cried when Dewey died,
I
and I was watching it in 4DX. So like
ooh,
your chair actually like stabs you when people get stabbed. So your chair goes psh, like in your
that's
back.
horrendous. Why
So
would you ever want to watch a movie like that? Oh my god!
What do they do when you watch
okay?
Gravity? Suck all the air out of the theater? Like,
so I mean, I actually had fun with it in 4DX. Like if somebody's running, like your chair is kind of like running with them. When the phone rings, like your chair vibrates with the ringing of the phone.
oh fuck! What
I
happened when
couldn't deal
Amber
with
got
that. My
set on
senses
fire?
will be absolutely through the roof. I couldn't deal with that.
So
Did it heat up when Amber got set on fire?
The lights like flashed, and like I think there was a little bit of like smoke that they kind of like, because they can like put like mist in the room and smells and all of these different things.
But it at least sounds better than what happened in my screening, which was the movie cut out to black after half an hour.
Oh
And
yeah.
somebody who was working in the cinema had to come in and explain that they were having problems with the projector.
Ghostface up to his tricks again.
Yeah.
I think it's quite ironic, actually, that we had our technical problems at the beginning of this while I had my technical problems actually watching this movie in the cinema. So maybe it's just a technical problem movie.
Yeah.
You know how people cheered at a particular moment when a legacy character reappeared in Spider-Man last month?
Yes.
I got that same reaction in my theater.
You got a cheer.
Yeah, I got a cheer when Gail told Amber "fuck you" when she was trying to apologize for Dewey and then got set on fire.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that. Another thing I wanted to bring up actually about the killing of poor Mr. Riley is again the theatricality of it, but the way it kind of ends. This shot is quite a low down shot of just Dewey bloodied on the floor, and the ghost face. Who did we figure out who the ghost face? Which one?
Well, it would have had to
Dewey?
been. It would have had to be Amber, because she said she was like excited to get the opportunity to do them both, and Richie was in the elevator. They were saving Richie. They were saving Richie. So it had.
I am an idiot. That's right.
But yeah, just like Ghostface kind of is looming over his body, standing over him, because you kind of take a beat that maybe he won't be dead this time, maybe, but then when you kind of just see him laying there, not moving, you see his eyes just open, so he's dead, and then it's just this shot kind of zooming away, and Ghostface is just standing over the body, like
Ghostface kind of, or Amber, kind of sweeps her arm like this and just goes, "It was an honor."
Yeah.
As though to just bow to the fact that she was able to kill Dewey Riley.
Yeah, and even when she's strangling Gail, like she was really excited that she was going to get the opportunity to kill her as well.
It was just such a well-staged shot and a well-staged scene. I, felt that, like with you, I had tears in my eyes at that scene, because it was an honor kind of attitude it had.
Yeah, even the Ghostface is like, honored to have had the opportunity.
It felt really, really meaningful and a genuine, as much as full of jokes as this movie was, that is totally straight. That is played totally straight. That is where this movie's a great slasher.
Yeah.
I loved that death. Loved that death scene.
Yeah,
Sad
we
that
needed
it happened.
We needed it. Like the killers say, like we needed a legacy character to die to sell this story. The fans would have hated if all the legacy characters survived again. So I like that played into their whole narrative that they were going for too.
I also think he was probably the easiest one to kill off.
Yeah, you could always just bring
Unfortunately.
in Patrick Dempsey again to take Dewey's place.
Kincaid. Oh.
Yeah.
Retired cop. But yeah, and I even like the exchange with him and Gail, so I like that they got a moment to kind of, and the way they kind of talked about it, they did it in a way that didn't feel too exposition-y, like we needed that information, but the way they kind of interacted, because they're just so good together, it felt like a real heartfelt conversation. You felt all the love that was still kind of between them, and just because of circumstances of who they are as people and where they need to be in their lives, you felt that, like, literally their relationship didn't work because of just their circumstances of, she can't cut it in Woodsboro and he can't cut it outside of Woodsboro. Like, they were just meant to be, in different places. And that's the only thing that really kind of kept them apart. And, it's just really sad that, like, he didn't retire on his own accord. Like, he was fired from the force and all of these things. So yeah, I like that we got that moment and exchange with them before, he passed. So
Absolutely.
before he was killed.
Did we enjoy CGI Skeet Ulrich?
Oh yeah, and technically legacy character coming back. I mean,
the fact that it was CGI Skeet Ulrich, no, not really. The fact that she was having visions of Billy, yes, I enjoyed that.
Yes, but I mean, technically, she wouldn't really know what like Billy looked like outside of pictures, and so if it's a figment in her imagination, it's not going to look exactly like.
But would it look like weird CG, like the weird CG of Tony Todd at the end of Candyman?
Yeah, it's like weird de-aging technology, which did weird things to his nose, and like
it really did weird things to his nose.
Also, a weird note on that: there's no reason to de-age Tony Todd for Candyman. He looks fine.
There wasn't any reason to de-age Tony Todd for the end of Candyman. They just did.
And there's a bunch of like bees all around his face. Like, you could have hit a lot with the bees alone.
He doesn't want to go near bees, to be fair, though, does he?
No, he had his fill. Pretty sure.
He had too many.
Yeah, and Skeet also looks pretty good too. So I think they could have gotten away with like a slight wash and like a little bit of makeup, but they like did a little too much. I think
they did.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I liked the effort to replicate the greasy rat hair. There was a solid effort. There was a solid effort to replicate that. But yeah, I mean, the only time she's seen Billy is in pictures. So, you just had to, like, for me, I'm just like, this is just the image she has of him in her mind. He's a figment of her imagination. I mean, did we like that he was kind of like, I don't know, kind of guiding her a little bit, or just kind of her embracing that side of her, but like channeling it in a positive way? Did we like kind of what they were trying to do with that?
It's probably
like the fact that at the end of it, like, he's giving her like this nod of approval.
Yeah,
it was a bit weird execution-wise, but
that final bit of popping up, I think he shows himself in a mirror or something.
No, she's like in a car window, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
car window reflection.
Whatever it may be, but it felt very much like an end of Return of the Jedi situation, where the Force ghosts just kind of come out and just go, like, "Well done, guys, you did."
Or like Happy Gilmore when he looks up at the sky and he sees like Chubbs and the alligator and Abraham Lincoln, and they're just
exactly. It felt exactly like that. It was a little bit silly, but I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
That because these movies can get away with being a little bit silly.
Yeah, and it was a really kind of nice surprise, because I knew, based on the age range of the characters, I knew like either Sam or Richie had to be related to Billy, because they were going to be of the age of people who would have been born in like 96, So I felt like if they were going to do any kind of thing, those characters would be characters that were like love children of Billy or something like that.
What month is the original Scream set in?
I think October. I think it's set in October.
I could be Billy Loomis's child.
That is not something you want to go advertising to the world.
Just saying, the time works.
You could be the love child of Billy Loomis. And yeah, I just loved seeing Sydney kind of come back and be a badass and not be afraid to kind of face everything. The fact that she has children wasn't the thing that stopped her. The fact that she has children was what drove her to like end this, so she would know 100% that her children were safe.
And she was just talking to Ghostface like, "Oh, hello again."
Yeah, like that's a bit derivative. I mean, the same house, really? Like, just talking shit, shooting through doors without even like, opening them. Loved that.
I mean, there is no Scream without Sidney Prescott. You could never kill her off.
Oh, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for stopping
Beach
by.
Channel.
Yes,
run away or we will spoil this movie for you.
Thank you for popping in. That means
Yes,
a
thank
great
you.
deal.
We appreciate it. But yeah, I think they were used well. Of course, you love these characters, so I always want more with them. But I think balancing that with also giving us time with the new characters, I think it worked, because you're not going to care about these new characters without having that time with them. And I think in the other movies, when they have tried to introduce new characters, we didn't really get that much time with them. So we didn't really care. So
It does
It was
well.
I mean, I would say, because Scream 4 also wanted to do this thing where it was a mix of the old and new cast, but I feel this movie did a better job at balancing the old and new cast.
Yeah.
Very much so. As good as Scream 4 is, a legitimately
The teens
good.
in Scream 4 are basically there to die.
Yeah, like the only ones you really kind of invested in are Jill and Kirby, and the rest you're just like, whatever.
It's a really, really good slasher movie, Scream 4. This one feels more Scream than Scream 4 does.
Yeah.
It just feels, I suppose is that me delving into this whole idea of what is right with movies based on the fandom and all that business. But this one felt, you said it there, Nolan, Scream 4 tried to do it, this one did it better, whilst maybe being on par as a actual movie on a whole.
Yeah.
This one's funnier by far.
Than Scream 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is a better tribute to the Scream franchise than Scream 4. Whether it's a better slasher movie or not is up for debate.
Yeah.
That took me ages to say. I'm sorry about that.
I think I might give Scream 4 the slight edge over this movie, but
On
it's
this
a
one?
very tight-knit edge, because
Okay.
I've just come to love Scream 4's portrayal of Ghostface more over the years. And like, when Scream 4 first came out, there was a lot of people who were like, yeah, it's probably the worst Scream movie, and I was the only one who was like, no, it's good.
No.
It's gotten better with age, I think, Scream 4.
Yeah.
It
I think a lot of
predicted the
people are seeing
whole
that.
clout chasing kind of thing.
Yeah, I've seen kind of a whole thing of people like who have been doing like a big rewatch, realizing, wow, like Scream 4 wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
No, I do like it.
It's definitely the most violent out of all of them, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we actually see some organs.
It's true,
in Scream 4. So since Casey Becker hanging from that tree, like we haven't got a gory kill like that since Olivia, the closet kill. So
That's true. That's almost why I want Dewey's heart to be on the floor.
Oh no.
Maybe in the extended cut.
There's nothing like a slasher movie giving us some intestines to savor.
Yes.
You sound like Hannibal Lecter now.
Intestines.
Is that not how you say that word now, Janina? You're making fun of the way I pronounce the word intestines.
Intestines.
Intestines. I don't know where you got teens from. Just because you've
Intestines.
been watching a movie about teens. I don't know. Intestines.
That reminds me of vegan sausage roll. Almost.
Right, well.
So what were you thinking with this For Wes banner?
Or is this my last one?
No, there's one more after this.
Well, I would like to save this one till the end, please.
Okay, all right.
Theories on the future of Scream. Janine, you are better at this than I am. I have said my piece. I would like Scream 6 to be a parody of Halloween 2018, where Sydney is created. I mean, I want Sydney to be obviously a little more sane than Laurie Strode has been in the last two Halloween
and not have
movies.
as much.
She's absolutely off
obviously,
a rocker.
She should have so much more PTSD than Laurie Strode.
She
doesn't.
should. She really should.
Most of her family has tried to kill her.
It's
right.
It's a problem, that, really, actually. But then again, maybe Sydney's just stronger as a person and can deal with it. Which is why I would also want to see then a parody of, or at least a partial parody of Halloween 2018, where it's a ghost face directly coming after Sydney in Sydney's house.
Okay. Where do you see the new characters kind of playing into that? And Sam, as she's kind of she was the new kind of main character of this story. Because I don't think you just kind of shelve.
No, you don't.
Tara and Sam. That you don't shelve the daughter of Billy Loomis. And we also didn't really get a lot about their mom. We just got that her name was Christina, and that was kind of it. Which I have a really kind of silly theory about who their mom could be.
You parody Endgame and you just have Tara and Sam come through a portal at the very end.
On your left.
You parody Spider-Man No Way Home, and you have
the Scream
all
multiverse.
The dead people come back.
Oh my gosh. Stu and everybody just come back.
In this universe, Sydney was Ghostface.
Oh my god.
I mean,
so
with movies that are part parody, though, there are limitless possibilities because they can be stupider than most movies.
What I think they could do realistically is parody genre blending, because you had Mindy like talking about other movies that follow the sort of legacy sequel thing, and you could have Scream 6 be like a horror action blend, kind of a John Wick revenge thing,
where Ghostface has a flamethrower.
That's what I mean,
and a muscle tee.
House.
Yeah, and it's played by Keanu Reeves. Sure,
perfect.
Yeah. But legit, I do think Sydney's kids should be Ghostface's target.
But who would be Ghostface?
Someone who maybe thinks Sydney needs to suffer. Otherwise,
someone new.
Someone
or that thinks that she needs to die so that this kind of whole thing just ends, because
or she doesn't get to have a happy ending.
See, I almost want Ghostface to be someone new, but then you said, Janine, where does Sam and Tara come into it, and Mindy and
Chad?
Sydney could just ask Mindy and Chad for their help, and then Tara and Sam are still there.
Because they're the new Randy. Like Mindy broke all that stuff down like a Randy would, you know. So
plus, I want to see more of Jasmine Savoy Brown.
Yeah, she's great.
If you've not played the Miles Morales video game, she plays the Tinkerer in it, and she's also great in that.
Oh, cool.
You lot are coming out with the trivia today, aren't you? I've got
it's a Scream video. Of course we have to.
Yes. So you asked who else likes to put their fingers in their mouth. Likes to lick their fingers.
Yes.
Aside from Billy Loomis. So that plays into my theory about who Sam and Tara's mom could be. I think their mom is that bitchy bathroom cheerleader from the original Scream film, because we not only do we see her put her fingers in her mouth before even washing her hands after using the bathroom, nasty ass girl. But if you put her hateful words about Sydney in the context of jealousy, I mean, I think it checks out.
Okay.
And a cheerleader who had it all in high school and then gets pregnant and
She's
loses it all.
Ghostface.
She kind of can become a drunk, which they say several times that Sam and Tara's mom is a drunk.
She's definitely Ghostface. Ghostface
So,
did definitely
I
clunk all the
think
time. You
that-
see how many times Ghostface falls over couches.
I think that bitchy cheerleader could potentially be the mother of Sam and Tara.
And therefore the next Ghostface. Yes.
Yeah, because we don't
Or
see her.
Or you get Jay and Silent Bob, since there has to be two ghost faces.
I mean, they were in Scream 3.
And I kept thinking, Morgan, I don't know how you'll feel about this, but you remember Kenny from the original Scream? The cameraman?
Yes, Kenny the cameraman. I had to think.
I used to think he was Kevin Smith.
He's Warren from There's Something About Mary.
So
he looks exactly
trivia.
like Kevin Smith.
Franks and Beans and Have You Seen My Baseball? That's Kenny the camera guy.
I definitely do want to see at least one more Scream movie.
Yeah. Now, yeah, and I feel like this one deserves to do well, and I feel like it should do well. My screen was full. I mean, was your guys' screens full?
Yep.
Mine weren't. So I saw it yesterday and I saw it Thursday. So I mean, I don't know if Friday was more of a booming day, but I thought like Saturday would. I saw it on Saturday around like 4.
Okay.
So maybe that just wasn't kind of like the peak time. But
I booked it for 7 p.m. on Friday night. Then I saw there was earlier times when the next day, so I booked 5 p.m. on Friday, and then immediately just went to the 7 p.m. screening right after.
Oh wow! Okay, well, yeah, we are doing our part to make this movie a success.
Because I think Scream movies get better on rewatches when you know who the killer is.
Yeah, so like I kind of wanted to do that and kind of see if I could pick up more Easter egg things and see if I could kind of notice different things, which I did notice a few things. Like after Dewey knocks Amber into the kind of gift shelf in the hospital, like Richie keeps like looking back to like make sure she's okay before they get on the elevator. So I'm like, yeah.
We didn't mention this either, but like one of the deaths that I feel might have been cut, like the scene feels like it was cut. The dude Kyle Gallner plays, who's there just to be a creep.
Oh yeah.
I feel like his death scene was cut.
It was because I saw some really great shots of like this big shadow of Ghostface like on the wall, and that part was not in that scene. So I'm like, why would they cut that?
I've
like,
seen that.
I think it was in the trailer, but like it was not in the actual movie. Like he literally was there for body count and because he was like, oh, related to a character. So I wish we would have gotten more with him to kind of give more.
He doesn't
something.
do mustaches.
No.
A good name.
No,
his death was pretty tame too. He just got stabbed in the neck and Ghostface just walked away.
Oh well, yeah. You know, you watch someone get stabbed in the neck and tell me it's a tame death. No.
If compared to what I've seen in Scream movies, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Poor Dewey Riley, who does do mustaches, a good name, was gutted like a fish.
And Kyle Garner, who does not do mustaches, instead making him look like some kind of cross between Jimmy Savile and a lumberjack.
Looks like Charles Manson. He does look a little bit like Charles Manson, I think.
I mean, I like Kyle Garner.
I'm sad that I'm surprised that Amber killed him.
Considering she's obviously a big fan of Charles Manson.
Full circle.
Is Charles Manson dead?
I think he's still alive. He might be dead.
Yeah, I think he died. A couple of years ago.
I remember
recently.
that happening, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Charles
like he's
Manson
in prison. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, because I think I remember a bunch of people on Twitter celebrating his death.
I mean, I would hope they wouldn't be necessarily mourning. Well, you know, people be people, and people be weird.
People. They always be people in, so you know.
I put this little category up. which is
Okay.
just for Wes, because I felt like this is the most appropriate way of ending this show today,
Yeah.
which is just by remembering Wes Craven, paying tribute to Wes Craven for starting this whole nonsense thing, and previous to that, starting out his horror career making ridiculously nasty movies, then moving into a little bit more funny stuff, then moving into really weird stuff.
Yeah, he really defined like 3 different decades of horror. Like, he had stuff in the
Tonally,
70s
very
and
much so.
yeah, 70s, 80s, and then into the 90s.
But then we do not forget his movies like The People Under the Stairs
No, I love
and
that movie.
Serpent and the Rainbow, which are weird and underseen.
Wes Craven was probably like the first ever director death that really hit me.
Yeah.
It's like I grew up on the Scream movies, and I
Yeah.
love his style of storytelling.
And he's made people who were never really horror fans. With that movie, he made people horror fans. Like, I was somebody who was always kind of interested in horror, intrigued by horror, but too afraid to like take that dive. Like, I remember watching Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street, trying to be cool and stay up with my sister when I was like 8 and watch it. And I tried to sit through it. And then for like months, I had nightmares and I couldn't eat pizza because it reminded me of Freddy Krueger's face. But I was so intrigued by it and excited by it, but I couldn't. After that, I didn't watch horror forever until I saw Scream. And now I'm like a huge horror fan because of that movie. It was the kind of bridge that helped me kind of take that leap into really delving into horror. So, and I think he's done that with this movie for so many people, because you hear tons of people say, I was a huge chicken and then I saw the Scream movies and now I'm a huge horror fan. Like, I was watching interviews with the cast and they all, like the young cast, and they all said the same thing. So, he was definitely an amazing filmmaker and started something really great with this franchise. So,
and the Ready or Not guys honored him really well. They even honored his style of storytelling.
Yeah. And Kevin Williamson was like, they had asked him to come back to executive produce, and he was like, kept saying no and he didn't want to. And then, he said, you know what, I think I'll be more upset if I'm not a part of this, because he didn't want to come back without Wes. That was his whole thing. And he said, I'll come back if we dedicate the movie to him. And so that's why we get a lot of the For Wes stuff, because that was his huge stipulation on coming back. Kevin Williamson was to dedicate the movie to him. So
can't say it better than that. We pay our respects. We raise our glasses to Wes.
To Wes.
And while Scream is definitely his most accessible movie, and like Janine said, started many people's journey into horror, go from Scream to Nightmare on Elm Street, because that's you're going on the trajectory of accessibility there. Go to Nightmare on Elm Street. Watch The Last House on the Left last.
Yeah. And then if you need a palate cleanser,
you really have to be kind of into horror to watch that movie.
And then if you need a palate cleanser, watch Music of the Heart about a teacher teaching about Meryl Streep as a teacher teaching young kids how to play the violin, directed by Wes Craven.
Oh, but also watch People Under the Stairs and Serpent and the Rainbow. Absolutely, those two as well, and Hills Have Eyes, and yes, and even Swamp Thing, which is a bad comic book movie.
And Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the first time he did meta stuff.
Well, yes, but that comes into Nightmare on Elm Street, doesn't it? When I say watch Nightmare on Elm Street, I mean watch all of them. All the way through.
The first one was good, but the rest sucked.
Shut up, Jay.
Just
Dream Warriors is dope.
Just quoting Casey Becker. Okay?
Casey Becker is not a Dream Warriors fan.
Don't know how. Don't actually not a New Nightmare fan either. New Nightmare's great. Actually, no, because you need to watch Nightmare on Elm Street before you watch New Nightmare. You can do that. You can go from Scream to Nightmare on Elm Street to New Nightmare and then just watch the other Nightmare sequels. You can do that. You
avoid the Nightmare reboot.
No, don't watch that.
It was so dull.
It's garbage.
Don't watch that weird movie. Anyway.
Fucking
where's Crazy?
Rorschach, Freddy Krueger.
And with that, we will, I think, come to an end of our lovely, fun discussion on Scream 2022. Apologies for me dropping out and Janine dropping out during this
I
stream.
realized my knee hit my phone and started playing the actual YouTube video on my phone. That's why it was you talking. And I'm like, I thought it was coming out of my computer.
Things got a bit weird.
Yeah.
I was the only one who was here the whole time.
Yeah.
You're so good, Nolan. You're so good. What do we have coming up this week? It's been fun doing another one of these on a Sunday as well. Big, long form live discussions. Nice bit of interaction we had a little earlier on, admittedly, but still.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
The Scream series would be a fun watch along.
It would.
I mean, they would be. However, I feel the time has passed. Unfortunately, we can always just watch Scream anyway. That's not a problem, of course.
The Scream movies are notoriously hard to find on Blu-ray now, so
are they?
Yeah, like they're getting sold out in UK stocks like quite hard.
Yeah, I have them on DVDs because I bought them in high school.
There they are. There they are.
So yeah, I have them.
Well, they'll probably release like
my Scream 4 is Blu-ray, but the rest are DVDs from my high school days.
Yeah, I can't wait to see my Blu-ray of Scream next to my Blu-ray of Scream.
I know.
Brilliant. Well, this has been a great deal of fun. Please, give this video a like. Do your subscribing, do your notification bell things for all the fun stuff we have coming to the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Plenty more of things like this to come and more watch-alongs and other such videos as well, of course, throughout 2022. But where we mainly live is on our podcast feed that you can find on all places podcasts are found. That is Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Amazon Music, everywhere else. The It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. 3 shows on there. We have Machine Mondays with yourself, Janine, that is back for the 2022 Schmodown season.
Yes.
For all the fun discussion there. We have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday with Janine, you and myself, where you force me to watch things that I haven't seen. And this coming Wednesday is our discussion about how much we appreciate gymnastics and how much we don't appreciate facial hairless Jeff Bridges when we were talking about the movie Stick It from 2006.
Don't watch Tron Legacy then.
That's a good idea.
You want more Billy level DHing.
Yes. So that is Machine Mondays on a Monday. Morgan Hasn't Seen on a Wednesday. And the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast itself, every single Friday. Nolan, you're on with me this week. We're talking Jimmy Cagney in White Heat. It's going to be good, I think. I hope so.
I hope so as well. I'm always down for some more Jimmy Cagney.
It always is a great time on the main show. We celebrate old movies. We discover new old movies. We show love to them, and we never forget old movies there. That is our main game, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. You can find us on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. We also have the Patreon if you would like to support us in that way. Patreon.com/It's a Wonderful One. I am on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in there because, Janine,
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at just the Purple Don. Nolan, you are at where and all your ridiculous comedy nonsense?
I am at NolanDean27 on Twitter. The Glasgow Kid 1 also on Twitter. and also on TikTok at the Glasgow Kid 27. And I've got some. I'm booked for a couple more shows now coming into the new year. So if you're around Glasgow, I'm going to be performing at Unchained Comedy Club on the 27th of March, my birthday. Yep, I'm spending my birthday doing my job, which is going to be fun. And also at the Diversity Quota at the end of April. I'm looking to be testing a lot of new material this year because I want to put on my own show. And if we have some time at the end of all of this, I do have some new material specific to horror movies and Scotland, which I've been looking forward to reading.
Okay.
Janine, all your wonderful stuff. Where?
You can find me at Janine Devine _ on Twitter, Janine Devine on Instagram. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find that at my TeePublic shop at g9design.tpublic.com. If you want to buy any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop at g9design.bigcartel.com. And I am also on TikTok at Janine Devine.
We should do a duet sometime on TikTok.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, are we going to allow Nolan to explain some Scottish horror amalgamation nonsense, or are we just going to shout the word bye?
Let's let him have a little sad time.
Okay.
Okay, so I saw that new Scream movie, and it got me thinking. We don't have a lot of Scottish horror films, do we? I reckon a Scottish version of Scream would be unfilmable because Scottish teens would just take the piss out of Ghostface. What's your favourite scary movie? Dunno, man. Not a big fan, to be honest. Most horror movies are shite. See that Chucky bastard? I'd put fuck out of him, man. It gets even better when Ghostface would try and reveal himself. Oh, look at this ghost mask, pal. Can I try it on? Oh, your wee robe's not doing well in the wind there, mate. Can see your tadger, man, aye? Granted, it'd be easy for Ghostface to frame someone else for the murders, just planting a costume in a Janny's locker. He wouldn't even have to buy his own knife. But could you imagine horror movies if they were all Scottish? The Clydebank Chainsaw Massacre, where Leatherface wears the skin of his victims, as not as a fashion choice, but because they've run out of trackies at JD Sports. They'd all be loaded up with Lord sausages and deep-fried Mars bars that Leatherface becomes the first cannibal in the world that has to go to a Weight Watchers meeting. A Nightmare on Sucky Hall Street, where Freddy Krueger has to wade his way through dreams about one day playing for Rangers or Celtic. Having to check in his bladed glove at Hampden Stadium. Freddy being taken the piss out of for wearing a fedora and looking like Ronald Villiers if he got lost on a Primark sales day. Truthfully, I think the only way you could do Jaws in Scotland was if you set it in Largs and replaced the shark with Armie Hammer, the only actor in the world who took Eat Out to Help Out too literally. Although being in Renfrew, I reckon we could have the Chucky movies. There's plenty of wee ginger guys in dungarees laughing maniacally while chasing you with a knife. It's just child's play over here. There's one great scene in the original Scream where they explain the rules of surviving in a horror film. First one is you can never have sex, so that's most of Dundee fucked. The second one is that you cannot drink or do drugs. And the third is, I'll never say, I'll be right back, which contradicts itself, as it's always said before doing drugs after having sex in a nightclub toilet. By these rules alone, I figure that's why we don't have any Scottish horror films. There isn't enough fake blood in the world to cover the amount of kills that would result if you were to film a realistic Scottish horror film following the rules of Scream. Crops would go extinct within a week, having to make that much corn syrup.
Oh, Nolan, I appreciate that because that would play particularly well to an audience in Glasgow.
Yeah.
All right, that's me for tonight, guys.
Let's shout it.
Bye.